podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbb-radio.com.
Welcome back to the 716th Attack Legion podcast. My name is Julian. Before we get started, I'd like to announce that Jordan, our usual host, has unfortunately broken his ankle. So, R.I.P. Jordan. You and I did the same thing at the same time. As always, we're joined with Christian and Jack. But we have a new guest today, guest star, the basement goblin, the man that lives in my basement, tall Rick Parisi.
Yeah.
Let's say hello, Rick.
I am the basement goblin. Hey, what's up?
Rick, I'm so happy that we're finally able to get you here. I've been waiting and telling these guys that we needed
and
you to
finally,
get you on
another
a pod.
Star Trek fan.
Yes.
Yes.
You have some
I want
backup.
to talk to you about that later.
Waiting to get you on the pod for a very long time, and I'm so glad that we finally have the opportunity. And it only came from a stroke of luck that Jordan just happened to break his ankle. So thank you, Jordan, for doing that.
Very lucky.
All the best to Jordan, though.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support in the last couple episodes of the Star Wars tier list. We're going to start today by adding a couple new characters and maybe having a little bit of a debate about where some of these characters fall, and we might make some arguments. But what I really, really, really want to talk about today is this episode will be called What If the Prequels? And essentially what we're going to talk about today is some of our what if theories. What if things happened differently? What if George Lucas wrote characters differently or plot things happened differently in the prequels? And kind of have a debate about what we would have liked to see or would have preferred to see versus the prequels that we got, or why things shouldn't be changed and why they're good as they are. But first, I'm going to start off, hand it over to Christian, and we're going to rank a couple extra characters.
Can I jump in real quick? I have a little micro discussion I'd like to
All right,
have.
micro discussion. Go for it.
Has anybody else seen the new... Well, has anyone else seen the news about Zack Snyder and his Star Wars movie that got canceled?
No.
Is
So
this like what Rebel Moon was
Yes.
initially?
So
Okay,
Rebel Moon is a movie that's in development by Zack Snyder right now, and originally it was going to be a Star Wars movie before Disney bought it. And it was going to be a R-rated Star Wars movie away from the Skywalker saga.
Okay.
And then after Disney bought it, they scrapped it, and then he's now releasing it now as
His
a
own
Rebel
thing,
Moon.
yeah.
Ooh.
It's like redeveloped, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's just
Interesting.
pulling all the Star Wars stuff off, putting it out there. Like
He just reworked.
Like what? StarCraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
This was Star Wars. This is now,
Moon space.
this is space conflict.
Yeah, no, this isn't Star Wars. The droids are completely different.
This
yeah, so
isn't
did
Lego
Disney
Star
turn that
Wars.
down?
This is Mega Block space conflict.
So did Disney turn that down, or is that
Yeah,
like
Disney
the old
turned it
Lucasfilm
down.
regime? Okay.
Yeah, they
Wow.
just
Well,
didn't
that
want
makes
any
sense. Disney
R-rated
can't
stuff.
handle anything over PG-13. So.
I would have loved to see.
Well,
an
aside from
R-rated.
Deadpool, which is going to be rated R.
I would have loved to see an R-rated.
And
Star
Andor
Wars
would
movie,
push
though.
the line on a
Yes,
couple things.
especially like
occasionally,
with Rebels.
Yeah, but it's
like,
still rated.
It's still
13.
mostly PG-13. Yeah.
Like if you get the rebellion and like just gritty detail, that could really like capture some.
I think
Like-
that's why people like Rogue One so much.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Could you imagine
Everybody
if they had, like-
dies. It's
People
great.
love that Rogue
They
One's
could-
just a dirty film. Like it's
they
like
could
every
just have, like,
character is
some-
like super gritty looking. Like,
I mean, I could make it weird because, there's definitely got to be like a Hellfire Club in the Rebels.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely a Hellfire Club in the Rebels where they're all doing each
Sabacc
other.
and-
Yeah, they're all playing Sabacc, and there's like a gang in the Rebels, you know
Oh,
what
yeah,
I
they
mean?
got
And
your
they're all
factions, yeah.
like
They have a-
sleeping with each other's girlfriends
That's
and
what
different
Saw's
aliens.
group
They have
is.
like
and
a Deadpool up, like which rebel's gonna die today.
stuff. yeah.
It's
like
like-
that's Saw's. That's
Deadpool.
definitely Saw's group.
That was like the
That's
X-Wing
Saw's
series.
group,
Yeah.
yeah. Which one's taking on
Did you
Steela
come
today?
to kill me?
Which one's betting Steela tonight? Anyway.
All right,
Let's get into some of
All
these
right.
characters. We're going to start with the first one, which is a very, very, very important character to all of
This
us.
is the only one we really
Hondo
wanted to
Ohnaka.
Oh,
I'd say A tier.
A tier.
I think
Yeah.
he's S.
Really?
I love
I
Hondo.
honestly,
Hondo's my
I could get
top
behind that.
five favorite
I don't
characters
think
in
he
canon.
I don't think.
I
he's-
think
Oh
that
shit,
I
we
could
don't have
see-
the tape.
One at a time.
Oh,
One
we
at a
don't have
time. I'll get
tape.
tape. Hold on.
I don't think that he's as influential as the S tier characters have been.
Yeah.
I think he fits with the A tier people more.
Yeah, I think he really kind of... He's a very fun character across multiple franchises at this point. Like, Hondo, you know.
I think, yeah, I definitely think he would be A tier again because of his, like, lack of influence, but he definitely gets put up in A tier strictly for
Although
like
Disney
ability
like him.
and writing.
Disney like him a lot.
They do.
Yeah,
They
to
do,
the
they
point where
use
he's
him
literally
in-
as an animatronic at like Galaxy's
is.
Edge. So
Really?
Yeah,
He
he's
is.
like the main like the guy
In the
there.
Smuggler's
Obviously.
Run
Yeah.
on Solo, he's on like a platform.
So where do we want to put him in A tier?
I think he's more like by
Do you-
Ventress.
Do you think he's above Ventress or
No,
behind?
I think he's
I
like.
think he's above
I
Ventress.
do-
I don't think
excuse
he's. I don't think he's a better character than Padme.
No,
I can
no.
get
dis-
behind
I'll
that.
put that
not-
out there.
I can get behind that. He's definitely not as good as Padme. What do
He's,
you think?
like Padme obviously has more to do in terms of like actual complexity. Where like
One-
he's basically comedic relief. Aside
One
from
can
being
make the
real.
argument whenever Hondo's on screen, the plan has to like take like 10 steps back, just because he
Yes.
he has like no idea what's going on.
I
Yeah,
think
he's
he's the
kind
most
of
He's really
effective
not
comedic
A.
relief.
Let's come on. I mean, I love Hondo, but is he A?
Yes, he's not B. If that's what you're talking about, I will walk over there and
He's
knock you
not
out.
better.
But like,
He's
again, you have
better.
characters
He's
like-
better than Lando.
yeah, 100%. Well, to be fair, we have Lando in the wrong spot.
Okay,
If
well,
being
then
honest.
let's-
I also
wanna
am a
argue
firm believer
Lando's
that
gotta
General
move
Grievous
there.
is in
Where
the
is
wrong
Lando on
spot.
this? Where-
He's
Lando's
all the way at the
the
top
top
of B
B.
tier.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lando should be an A if we're being
Lando
honest.
was an A, and we demoted him because he
But
didn't.
if
Because
I'm
he
also
didn't
but
fit.
But I'll also I can make, I want to
didn't
make
fit,
the
okay.
first argument. I want to make the first argument by saying that like I did a lot of watching since the last time we recorded. I watched the 2005 Clone Wars, did my summer
Yeah.
reading, and dude, I really think General Grievous is like way too low.
But if we,
But we're trying to balance
in the
his-
episode that we put General Grievous up, we agreed that we weren't gonna rank him on 2005 Clone Wars. We had to rank him on
Everything.
the
We are
canon.
counting a little bit of their
You have
legend
to
stuff,
count it a little
like
bit.
but it's more like headcanon that
Yeah,
like when
I
it is
definitely
still
like
able to be
Hondo.
applied.
I definitely like Hondo more than Lando.
I think I
definitely
do.
think
I think I
so.
do too.
I like him
Is
better
Hondo
than
better than
Bale.
Ventress?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
but
I
I
think
definitely
so.
don't think he's better
Is
than
he
Padme.
better
I
than
think he should
Luthen?
go.
Yeah.
No, he's not better than
No,
Luthen.
no.
Is he better than Padme?
No.
Well,
I
then
think
put
he's
him
in front
after
of
Padme.
Ventress.
I think Padme has more to do in the story, so yeah, sure. I'm fine. I think that's a fine spot.
Okay.
My own personal.
I still wanna argue
thing
that
would
Lando
be
should move
S,
up.
but- yeah, Lando should be higher.
Yeah.
we can argue about that now.
Can I make
All right.
my
And does
point?
anyone? Let's. All right. Does anyone
Well,
else have anything that's
we
a
moved
particular?
Lando.
I'm just gonna make my point about Lando now
Yeah.
because, listen, nobody has better pickup lines in space than Lando Calrissian.
We
You surely do belong with here, up in the clouds. Code 45 works every time.
Yeah, but
he
I don't
should be
think
higher.
Just having solid
Well,
charisma
well,
is
And he
enough.
flies the Millennium Falcon and destroys the
That
new
is
Death
true.
Star.
That is good.
Yeah, if we're talking importance to the plot, Lando is definitely higher.
Yeah,
than,
I feel wrong having like I see
Where he
Kylo
is.
here and I see Lando here and I like get a little.
Kylo
angry.
Ren is a better character
No,
by
that's not true.
miles.
No,
We
no,
could
there's
put-
no one in the secret
We
trilogy
could
that's
put
better than the
Lando on
original
the
five.
same
I don't
tier
think.
as Ezra, but I don't think he can.
Sure, I would
I think
accept
Lando
that.
and Ezra are
farther.
similar tier. I'm
Well,
cool with that.
originally,
Like,
this is what we had Lando was
Yeah,
here.
Lando
I'm
was
comfortable
next
doing
to-
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I,
I
still
think he at
Kylo
least
Ren's
has to be
better.
an A.
Yeah, I'm fine
Yeah.
with him being.
He can be at the end
I
of
think he
A,
needs
but
to
he
be
still
an A.
has to
Yeah,
be an
I'm
A.
fine with that.
I don't-
Where do we think about Hondo again? Does Hondo
Hondo's-
gonna be
Hondo's
there? I think that's cool.
there.
Okay.
That's a good-
I'm
that's
fine
good.
with that.
All right,
I can live with
let's
that.
do another one, shall we?
If only our government ran this way.
That's a character from something I haven't seen.
Just go in and dig randomly.
Grab one.
Actually, before we
Pick
do
up-
that though, does anyone see anything up here that particularly perturbs them?
No, I'm good.
I
Lama Su.
Lama
Oh,
Su.
you gotta hold it
It's
up to a
like-
camera. Bring it up to, hold it in front of this camera
front
so
of this
people
camera?
can see it. Yeah,
Lama Su.
Lama
We
Su.
can barely see.
yeah.
will.
She
Prime
is
Minister of
a
Kamino.
what? She's a what?
No, this
Don't
is
care.
a male.
I,
This
I
is-
know, but
this
for
is
the audience, that
Prime
couldn't
Minister of
understand.
Camino.
pretty evil. It's like
Inventor of
cloning or
Omega.
something.
Omega.
Rick,
I
what do
don't
you
know if I have
think?
any opinions about this.
Definitely
I-
gonna go.
Rick,
not-
let Rick get a word in.
Yeah.
I
Rick
do
go.
not care about this character at all. He shows up, he's like, these are the clones, and then he's gone, and that's it.
He's kind of a dick in like in Bad Batch. Oh, you didn't see Bad Batch though. And
Yeah, but he's always been like a stupid.
and he's bad in like even when he shows up in Clone Wars,
Is
but he's
it
not a
Lama Su?
particularly.
I'm down to put him in
I'm
D
pretty-
tier behind Bowden.
Lama Su is the prime minister, then like Ta Wei is the other one.
Yeah, I'm down to put him in D tier behind.
Yeah, I think D tier is fine.
behind Foden Bede.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Alright.
I think that's
In front of Salacious Crumb.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
No, Salacious might be better.
Salacious is better.
I think Salacious is better.
We'll put him ahead of.
I think Salacious should be in C tier. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
know,
he's
dude.
iconic. I think Salacious stands out a lot more than the rest of these characters.
Yarael poofing up.
Yeah, that's definitely
I
true.
don't know.
Yeah.
Operant Ceases should be up in S tier.
You're dumb.
Dude, we literally have Operate Ceases, who has no lines of dialogue above Captain Phasma.
She also had no lines of dialogue.
That
if
is
we're
true.
really thinking
All right,
about
He
it.
does sit there in
Ben Quadinaros.
Ben
Oh,
Quadinaros.
S tier.
I gotta switch. Move it over. There you go. Okay.
There we are.
Quadinaros.
All pod racers should be like where, basically.
Yeah.
Probably B tier as well.
B tier?
No
Yeah.
way.
What with the
Not a
who?
B.
Ben Quadinaros.
D
He
tier.
has nothing. Oh, I mean D. I know.
D.
Sorry.
D.
What do
Sorry.
you think we were talking about?
It's
No, I misspoke with my.
Oh,
my,
I see. I
my
see.
letter.
Yeah, at the
no,
end.
he's like around four. He's like some
this guy's way-
Salacious.
He's not better than that guy.
But look how great this design is.
Elephant
None
spy
of-
guy.
I think they tried to make the ugliest design they possibly could. No, he's Operant Ceases is better. Let's be real. Let's be.
Obviously.
there.
There you go.
He's better than Phasma. He's more memorable.
Better than Phasma.
Yeah, he says.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
All right,
crashes,
last ranking of the day, and then we'll get into
Yeah, honestly.
the what ifs.
Why is someone so dark?
I don't
I know
know.
my printer sucks.
Pick a different one.
Oh wait,
Looks like
oh,
a
wait.
dead person.
Oh no, that's like I think
Appropriate.
that's Ord Essence or whatever his name is.
Well,
who
I
is
can't
like,
even see
who
him.
was like, in a Clone Wars episode where this is really badly printed, but basically this character is never alive on screen. This is this corpse because a changeling turns into this dead Jedi and walks around as him, but the actual Jedi is just dead. So
It's okay.
Yeah, they go in K.
K.
All right,
They
one
go
more
in-
then, because one more actual one.
Yeah.
One
Ready?
that's not a black page.
Ooh,
Bossk.
Bossk.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
Wait, are we
Oh,
factoring
sorry,
legends into this?
No, well, we try to incorporate a little
good.
bit, but we
That's
try to
good.
just
Good
focus
enough,
on the
yeah.
headcanon.
If
I would argue that Bossk is S tier because he's the only character in Star Wars wearing a Doctor Who costume.
Yeah, it is true.
It's a
He
leftover costume from a Doctor Who episode that they just put the guy in
Are we
and
sure
put
there's
like
no other characters
a
that might be
terrible
appealing
thing
to this?
mask on.
I
the
think
head.
he could go C tier behind.
I was kidding
behind
about
the.
that.
I
What's
think-
his name?
yeah, if he's
See,
just
I think there's an
canon-
interesting thing because I think B is going to be a mix of like the most iconic people that are like only have little bits of time, and then like as you get lower, you
He's
just get
definitely
the more.
cooler than
Is
Jar Jar.
Bossk
I think he's
in-
way cooler than this tier, and he's cooler than I think a lot of this tier, if that
he
makes
could be
sense.
put on the same tier as Yin Yub.
And we're
Like,
we're
he's certainly
basing
one of the
this on
more-
the fact that Bossk has stuff in Clone
Like
Wars,
he's
right?
certainly the most
Yeah.
interesting new guy we get introduced to in the bounty hunter scene in like episode 5 because we've already met Boba
Yeah.
by that point. So
So let's put him on the same tier as Nia Nub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
like behind is he better than Mon Mothma?
Yeah, no.
Ooh, I don't
no,
think so.
Mon
no.
Mothma was better.
Not
He's
after
definitely not
Andor.
Is
as
he
good
better
as the
than
Inquisitor
than
either.
3PO or is 3PO just too high on this list?
No.
3PO is way too high.
No, he's not. Stop it. Put him in.
3PO is detrimental to the story.
Yeah, I think Bossk is fine. Bossk is good
All
in
right.
Clone Wars too.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Now let's kick it back.
might
and
occasionally- we might pick
get
a
our
couple more
get
throughout
our
it, but-
everything settled again and
Now just keep
microphones.
You start going, and I'll make my
So,
adjustments.
I want to talk about some what ifs. I saw a series of videos which I thought were really interesting, and I found them about 2 years ago. And I didn't realize how old they were. Rich had mentioned it today that they're 11 years old, but honestly, I love them. I seriously do. It's by a sequence. It's by a YouTuber called Belated Media, and it's a 3-episode series called What If Episodes 1, 2, and 3 Were Good, like really good. And basically, he creates this hypothetical universe where he is a story executive at Fox and essentially rewrites the prequels so that we get a little bit of a better version of the story than what we got. And honestly, after listening to these videos multiple times, I honestly think that some of what he thinks is genius. And I think that rewriting the movies, the number one change is that he rewrites them in a way that if you watch the movies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that all of the secrets get preserved. By the end of episode 3, you don't know that Anakin's Darth Vader. You don't know that Luke and Leia are siblings. You don't know that there's more than one baby. You don't know that Anakin was the father, all of these things. So there's a lot of things about that, and I wanted to pose from that video my own questions to you guys and kind of have a little bit of a debate about some things that I think that could be changed and questions I want to pose to you. So I want to start, we'll go one movie at a time. We'll start with episode 1, and the very first question I have to you guys is, what if Qui-Gon hadn't died?
I think that would have been like the perfect timeline. Like, I don't think anything bad would have happened in that universe, because I don't think Anakin would have turned to the dark side, because I think Qui-Gon would have kept a closer eye on him and kind of been like that father figure that he needed. I don't think that Palpatine would have like gone through with most of his plans, because I think that Qui-Gon would have known about it. He was a very perceptive kind of guy, and I don't want to be like too good on Qui-Gon, but I think that he would have known more was going on than he wasn't as idiotic as the Jedi Council.
It wasn't as ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't as strict, and he didn't agree with them, like, because I think they say in, like, a Phantom Menace, not Phantom Menace, yeah, Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
that, like, you could be on the council if you wanted to, essentially, but, like, he just doesn't get along, but he just doesn't get along with, like, the rules of, like, the Jedi Code, basically. He's kind of, like, that's why he always gets the gray Jedi thing thrown around, whether that's accurate or not is debatable, but.
I don't think Dooku would have turned to the dark side. Because
If he hadn't died, Dooku probably would have had a better run and probably wouldn't have gone bad. Yeah. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely, like, very much in the same vein as Obi-Wan, where he's, like, he follows the will of the Force regardless of dogma. Like, Obi-Wan is still attached to dogma somewhat, but, like, Qui-Gon is just very much go follow the will of the Force. I think with him still alive, you'd have a lot of changes for the better in the Star Wars universe.
See, I think everything that's true. Like, say, okay, if Qui-Gon is Anakin's master, then that obviously, like, we have a more experienced, like, the person. Even when it comes to, like, the Padme thing, when that, if, like, he's still, like, his master by that point. Like, Qui-Gon, especially if you go to EU stuff, has his own relations and stuff with, like, other people outside the Jedi Order as well, and, like, love, if I remember correctly. So, like, there was obviously, like, that level that, he would have been, like, more accepting of it, and, like, maybe Anakin would have felt like he could have been honest about it, which would have maybe been, he wouldn't have been boxed in, essentially, which is kind of what happens in, like, 3.
Yeah.
But I think the idea is, like, doesn't really matter, because Palpatine would have just fucking murdered him, like, in a different plot, like, within the next year.
That's
if we're being
true.
like Palpatine would have manufactured another plot to get Qui-Gon killed within a year.
Yeah, killing Qui-Gon.
That's what Palpatine would have done.
I
Like
think that was
like
kind of
Naboo
the
was
point,
plan
too.
1. Like
Yeah, I think the goal. Well, but the question then is posed is like, was that the plan in sending Darth Maul was to specifically take out Qui-Gon?
I think if you look at a lot of the Disney stuff since then, especially like Tales of the Jedi, I think that there's like it's a triple whammy. Like it's I get rid of Maul, I get rid of Qui-Gon, I get Dooku, I set up Anakin with a worse master. It's like multiple things at once. It's like one plan executing like 3 different plans.
Yeah,
like,
that
for
makes sense.
various different like points in the future where they're gonna come to like fruition.
But I don't think that Dooku would have turned if. I think that Palpatine was able to play it off like Darth Maul unintentionally killed him in Episode 1. But if Qui-Gon beat Maul and then somehow a year later Qui-Gon died again, like still died, I think Dooku would have been like on to him at that point.
Yeah,
think so,
I mean,
'cause I think
this-
Dooku we already get.
the,
I'll
hy-
let you go.
the hypothetical question I'm posing is like, what do you think would happen if Qui-Gon just didn't die at all? Not that we were going for another plot. If he just lived through all of it.
I just think that Palpatine is conniving enough, if that makes sense. Like I just don't think
Yeah.
I think his presence would be helpful and would be like more of a like problem than like Obi-Wan, if that
But they
makes
would definitely
sense.
still
but
try
like
to
it still
go
wouldn't
after
have
him
mattered.
anyway.
I think in the long run, I think like they would have either found a way to remove him like from the more of the equation, like the
Okay.
Every
So-
time Qui-Gon got killed, they would have just force healed him.
So-
exactly.
So then my next
Great.
question kind of leads into my next one, which is, what if Darth Maul, and originally, Darth Maul was dead until they brought him back in the Clone Wars. And including the Clone Wars stuff and what we have in the prequels now that they've tried to make it work, what if Darth Maul had survived into Episode 2 and Episode 3 and we saw him as a villain? Like, if he was the main villain until Anakin, like, what do you think would have happened there?
I think that this is like a concurrence with like almost everybody. Like any rewrite of the prequels that I watch,
Darth Maul
Darth
would not
Maul
die.
always is like the
That's
the
the,
main
if I
thing.
could change one thing, like if I had to change one thing about the prequels, it would be that Darth Maul doesn't
But I
die.
wouldn't at this point.
Let me throw something in. So back to the first thing I wanted to say was that Qui-Gon is like not dying is like Abe Lincoln not getting assassinated at the end of the Civil War. Like, to me, it's such a big and important character. Like, as much as Abraham Lincoln would have guided us through Reconstruction, So, like, I think the Emperor would know that and he would have to kill Qui-Gon. The other thing is, there's no way Darth Maul cannot handle the Separatists. It has to be Dooku. So there's no Clone Wars because you need someone that can handle the Separatists.
Yeah,
And
to be fair, Maul's
Dooku
character
can do
Maul's
that.
characterization
So-
doesn't
so-
work like the same as Dooku's. Like,
All right, so let's throw it to the hypothetical that's posed in the video that I sent you all, which is that Dooku is still leading the Separatists, and it's but he is leading the Separatists because he knows about what the Emperor is doing it on purpose to be a good guy, whereas Darth Maul is out for blood. I mean, he's just out to kill. Really, his thing is to get to Obi-Wan. Like, I think Darth Maul not dying is seriously, like, it's enough fuel that, like, you get Obi-Wan can kind of, like, the assumption would kind of be that Obi-Wan would be turning to the dark side because, he would be fighting Darth Maul, which is the guy that killed his master. I mean, that's, like, a big deal, I'd be pissed. And if Darth Maul showed up with some badass fucking robot spider legs like he had in fucking Clone Wars, I'd be all about it. Honestly, I think like Darth Maul would be a phenomenal main antagonist for those 3 films until when he gets killed Dooku style by Anakin in the 3rd one, and then Anakin becomes the bad guy.
I do.
yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll let you go actually.
All
It just adds more fuel for Obi-Wan.
all I was gonna say was I really wish we could have gotten an Anakin versus Dooku fight in at least in either in the prequels or in the Clone Wars.
Anakin versus Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Oh.
You said Dooku.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and Anakin
that would've
versus
been
Darth Maul
interesting.
fight would have been badass. That would have been sick.
Yeah, I wish they met once in Clone Wars because I think they're chasing them for one point, but they never actually get to like interact. They've been interacting with Savage, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think
Anakin fights Savage.
Yeah,
Anakin
they
fights
fight
Savage.
But he
Savage,
doesn't
but
fight.
he never even gets close.
I don't think
to
he
Maul.
interacts with
Oh,
Maul.
that's right.
at all.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of when they're on the weird cafe thing and they just miss Savage.
So knowing
Yeah.
about the way that they fight, who do you think would win between Darth Maul and Anakin Skywalker?
As Ahsoka once said,
Anakin.
Anakin would have wiped the floor with him.
Yeah, Anakin totally would wipe the floor with Darth Maul. I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Like, in brutality, Darth Maul fights with, like, agility and skill. Anakin is just brutal.
Well, even like I think in like Legends stuff, like Darth Maul is supposed to be like one of the best like saber duelists the Sith have ever had. Like counting everyone.
But he's
like,
a good saber duelist. Anakin is, like, the ultimate, like, just powerful
Yeah,
being.
exactly.
Well, we saw how that worked against him in Episode 3, though, against
Oh, yeah, you
Obi-Wan's defensive
underestimate my
form.
power, and then he
But
gets his
isn't
fucking
there an
legs
argument
cut
that
off.
Obi-Wan's the only person that probably would have beat Anakin at that point?
I
Like
think
nobody
so.
else, like even like Yoda, probably would have
Nobody
even,
else
like, beat
could have fought
Anakin.
Anakin
I think
and
it's
won. Like,
just
let's
because
be
it's
real.
Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's just able to unsettle him enough. And then Obi-Wan knows it's a mixture of like it being Obi-Wan is unsettling Anakin even more than what he
Well,
already is.
I guess,
and Obi-Wan knowing Anakin.
well, I guess
Like,
that I guess the only argument I could make was Ahsoka. I think if we had known that Ahsoka was a character when Episode 3 came out, I think the only character that could have been more fuel than Obi-Wan was Ahsoka. Like,
Yeah,
an
I think
Ahsoka
that-
versus Anakin fight would
If-
have
Yeah, I
been
think Anakin-
epic.
If the rumors
have
are
that.
true, we'll get that in the Ahsoka show.
we kind of had that. They fought on
on Mortis.
on Moraban or whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
No, I think what
very
I've
slightly
heard about
in
that show
Rebels.
is that scene might be recreated because we've seen that
Yeah.
a few times with other scenes.
You mean with
so.
him in the helmet and he
Yeah,
fights
Twilight
her?
of the Apprentice fight. might
So
be
I've
recreated.
heard rumors that the Twilight of the Apprentice fight might be recreated, and then like if we explore the world between worlds and like we get into like different kind of
we get an
timelines,
Anakin versus
we get
Ahsoka
into-
fight on Mustafar.
Yeah,
That would be sick. I'd be flipping my
that's
shit
a
if I
big
saw that.
rumor that I keep hearing that
I
we'll
just
get that
and
kind
I
of fight.
just all I care about is seeing him call her snips on camera. Like that's the only thing that matters to me. Anyway, so let's move on to the last question about episode 1, which is I think my favorite question is what if midichlorians weren't a thing?
I don't think that much would
I don't
change.
think- I don't think this
I,
matters.
I think
I
he
think this
just
is
wouldn't
like-
have
I
done the
just
blood
know that
test.
everybody here mutually hates
I think
midichlorians.
given all the trouble that we've had with like first, I know like it used to be an older thing. Actually, people have well moved past this. I think a lot of like the prequels, weird decisions I hate the people that dislike midichlorians. Like, no, I can't be a Jedi. It's like
I mean,
it's
it
like,
got
come on.
retconned.
it's like it is more fantasy, I guess, the Star Wars than it is like pure sci-fi. Like Star Trek is pure sci-fi, whereas like
Yeah, I think
Star
people
Wars
have
is
way more
like
quarrels with the sequels that like the midichlorians thing.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying,
Well,
like,
anyway,
like-
that joke flopped.
like midichlorians like maybe 10 years ago were like the worst thing in Star Wars, and imagine like saying that now.
Yeah.
Because
like
they're
after,
not.
after
Yeah.
what
So
we've
not
dealt
the
with
worst thing in
for
Star
the
Wars.
past like with the world building for the past 10 years. Like no, there's so much worse to point to.
Yeah, the worst
Like,
thing in Star Wars currently at this moment is
Episode 8.
Yeah, and there's
Rose
nothing
and
wrong
Finn's
with the
kiss.
sense. Like midichlorians make sense, like in universe. Like,
do, they make
like
sense.
they don't have any.
they made
don't-
it make sense.
Well, yeah,
It
like,
works, and they
they-
just never brought it up
They're
again,
annoying,
and they haven't talked
like-
about it
Well,
since.
they say like M count in
They
the
say M, yeah.
Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and like
Oh.
that
Oh,
can
which is
do.
funny.
That's
They
right.
won't say
And-
the name.
yeah, they
They
won't
won't
say
say
the name.
midichlorians because they know how many people be
But
pissed.
everyone like
But nobody cares
Everyone
anymore.
I watch on YouTube that reacts to the Mandalorian where they said M count, they're all like, "Oh, midichlorians," and then
Yeah.
like that's it.
Okay,
It's
all right.
just an
so-
indicator now.
I think so much of the things that everyone hated from the prequels, like all the kids like that watched it when they were like 8, grew up and now have Twitter and like it unironically. so it's like there's a mix now, and also like even the shit that's dog shit is grown up to be like ironic and like funny and like be part of like the meme culture around the prequels. So there's an argument of like we don't need anything to change because it aged so well in a weird way.
Yeah, they did. Like they aged really well. I watched episode 2 a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Damn, I love this movie," even though it's
Yeah.
it's so bad.
Yeah,
But
it
I love
sucks, but
You
it's
know what I
it's
mean?
fun still.
But
It's like-
okay, so then moving on to episode 2, this is a big question. I think that is ignoring Clone Wars, because at
So
the
we
time
are going to ignore Clone Wars.
well,
we
for
kinda
certain
have to.
questions, I'm
I'll
talking
try.
when I'm asking certain questions.
No, but for this one
For
specifically.
this question in particular, I want to ignore Clone Wars.
Okay.
Is what if Ahsoka Tano was in episodes 2 and 3?
So I have a follow-up question to you. What would her role in episode 2 be?
Yeah.
Because she's
Well,
a
we would
youngling at this
introduce
point.
her. Well, we would introduce her as his, because I mean, Clone Wars, the Clone Wars movie doesn't take place very long after
A few
episode
months.
2.
No,
It's only a couple
they
months.
do yada yada Anakin getting like a Padawan within like 2 months of like becoming a Jedi Knight.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But,
So,
but it makes sense because
hypothetically-
the idea is that Anakin really isn't even ready to be a Jedi
Well,
Knight
exactly,
fully,
and but
he
they've
gets
made that
he gets
clear.
someone to be like to be in charge of to get a little bit of like it's
Right.
they're both getting trained.
they're doing it
Yeah.
on
Like,
purpose.
Yoda does it on
to
purpose,
kind of
like-
show him, and I think
Yeah.
like that's the point that I'm trying to say is like, so episode 2, Anakin's still a Padawan. Imagine him becoming a knight to train her at the end of that film, or that would be her role at the end of that film, and then episode 3 would be
So
majorly
she would get
different.
introduced at the end of episode 2?
She would get introduced in episode 2 at some point, maybe halfway through, and maybe she helps out in the arena fight, and then she fights Count Dooku, like something like that. Hypothetical.
Yeah, I
If
think
she was to
Ahsoka-
show up in episode 2 and episode 3, like how would that impact? Like, what would you think of that? Because honestly,
I
I
think
could
that
totally
only
see
works
it be
if
rewritten
we
like
do the thing. Because like a lot of the rewrites that I've ever seen, or the only one that I've ever thought would like maybe work, is if Phantom Menace is like, because Phantom Menace is important, but like if you look, it's not a lot that changes like the overall story besides like the really big moments like are that impactful, and like young Anakin's kind of just like meh. Like we don't like.
It's
There's
really
an
just
argument
them
that
trying to
we
get
don't
Anakin
need to
on
see
screen.
Anakin as like a 10-year-old. Like it would have. There's an
Right.
argument to be made that you could have started like with episode 2, like more in that vein,
A
like
young
with
adult
Anakin
Anakin
already as a Padawan.
Again, the
And
belated
then I
media
think
videos.
and then that would make more sense if the second movie is mid-war, which is what I've always said, like Attack of the Clones should have been if they didn't do Phantom Menace the way they did.
Yeah,
Like, and then the third movie is the third movie, but at least you have a movie that actually takes place during the height of like the Clone Wars instead of just like having it all take place between off-screen 2 movies.
Right, and that's kind of
Ahsoka could be in that middle
Well,
one.
that's kind of the thing that I like about when I meant, and again, I keep bringing up these videos because I think they're really well written. Is in the belated media video, the Phantom Menace is rewritten so that Anakin is a teenager, and that's a big conflict for the Jedi, and they're like, that's why we can't train him because he's a Jedi, or he's a teenager, and that's ridiculous, and we abduct them when they're babies, and so for him to be a teenager is crazy. But everybody fights for him, and everybody kind of goes, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon go to bat for him, and he becomes, a Jedi, and then the second movie is literally in the midst of
I think
the Clone Wars.
I think one of my favorite parts of that video that he made was that they go back to Naboo like they do in that first movie, and he's like, and obviously Anakin didn't come because you don't bring kids.
Why the
into
fuck would you bring a kid with you to that?
Yeah, they literally brought him off planet. They're like, all right, well, bring him back. He's
Well,
like
the thing
5.
is too, like they brought him to the Jedi Council, introduced him to the Jedi Council. They were like, you can't be a Jedi, you're too old, and then they bring him back to Naboo anyway. And it all literally is just to get him in the cockpit to go,
I
I'll try spinning, that's a cool trick.
Well, no, I think to be fair, I think the idea is that Qui-Gon's like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway. like I think that's basically what he said. Like, so I think the idea was like he's bringing him along because like, well, we'll start your training after. like,
Yeah, I guess you'll just come with us because if we
Qui-Gon
if we
was
stay here,
training.
doesn't
like Qui-Gon was training him one
He
way or
was
the other.
training
Even
him,
if he didn't
like-
have to be a Jedi, he was just gonna train him in like light side shit, like by himself if he had to, like away from the Jedi.
My only thing is, and I've said this, for years, is that I agree. I wish Anakin would have been a little bit older in the first movie, and the war would have started earlier in the episode. There's some things that could. I mean, I don't have. I think it's. But then I think it just affects so much of the other stuff we've got. I don't think we would have got that stuff. And again, I feel like it gets weird with putting, if we had an Ahsoka character, because it just gets so bizarre. Like, then Obi-Wan, I don't know. I think it just throws off the story so much.
Like throwing Ahsoka in to like making her fit in, like post like not existing in the 3 movies. Like she's done a remarkable job fitting in to like into the story and having it actually like make a lot of sense. Like even like the finale of Clone Wars like has no right to like work as seamlessly as it does like with like episode 3. Like it doesn't. But
Yeah, they brought her in and like took her out again in a way that makes sense, and it worked with the story, and it explains her absence from episode 3, and even sort of explains why nobody ever really even mentions her ever. But so it's very good.
Well, again, that's why this is all hypotheticals. This is all like what would happen.
So, like,
if these things happen.
See, it's just hard to imagine a better hypothetical than like where Maul and Ahsoka do end up in the long run. Like Maul took a while to get there. Don't get me wrong, and it's like a very very long 20 years. But like it's hard to imagine like anything that could have been in the movies being better than like what Maul does in Clone Wars and Rebels. Like it just kind of is, and that doesn't happen if it's changed.
So
Maybe-
in the
sorry,
go ahead.
Maybe if like on villains, like maybe if Grievous was more, featured in the main movies, right? Like
Yeah, Grievous would have been a part of the second one. If
Yeah, if you
Well,
could
yeah,
put him
and
in the
also
second
like
movie.
you don't get Grievous like in episode 3. You start episode 3, and you're just supposed to know who he is because you're supposed to have watched the Clone Wars, but like not everybody watched the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like not everybody watched that. So when Grievous comes in, and we're like, oh, he's gonna he's shorter than we expected. And we're like, we haven't. Who is this guy?
And it's weird because in Grievous's lore, like, he's at the Battle of Geonosis. He's like in the catacombs of the Colosseum.
Grievous's old Legends lore is fucking bad shit though. Like,
Well,
it doesn't make
also,
it's crazy.
but also, I mean, I guess if you change things like Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Grievous's lore, like you wouldn't have Shaggy, and that's like you need
He wouldn't
Shaggy.
exist, man.
All right, so what if Ahsoka was in? Okay, so this was a big question. I really think we can seriously get into this, which is what if Anakin made it in time to save his mother?
So
Palpatine would have.
that was my Palpatine. So, but my hypothetical.
Palpatine hired the Tarkin.
My
the Tuskens.
hypothetical.
Like, what do
was-
we think the outcome would have been? Not like, because like I think we said the same thing for Qui-Gon. Is like, oh well, if Qui-Gon lived, Palpatine would have just come after him anyway.
I love the answer.
I mean, like I want
Palpatine.
to talk about like what would happen to the characters and the rest of the plot if Anakin did save his mother and it wasn't just like we can't just use Palpatine will come after as a cop out.
So
You know what I mean?
my hypothetical to your hypothetical was I think that Anakin would have saved his mom, and then Palpatine would have held off on killing Shmi until like the end of Episode 3, and then he would have used it as like the Jedi killed your mom, and like that kind of would have been like the nail in the coffin of Anakin turning
Honestly,
to the
I
dark
think
side.
I just honestly, I think that he would have got chewed out by the council for it, and then Palpatine could have just used that instead. Like
Yeah.
I think he could have like I imagine the Jedi would have acted like rather dogmatically. Like that not only did he like leave like his mission, but he did it to do like as something as like personal as like save his like mother. Like so he put like the senator at risk. Like so like there was an argument to be made that he would have been like literally punished for that action, for like doing good of like literally saving his mother, and that and Palpatine could have realistically twisted
Well, that also in
Maybe
Anakin,
even earlier on.
But that also in Anakin could really spark a hatred for the Jedi to be like, I did this because it's my mother, and you're telling me that I'm wrong. Hell no.
Yeah, if anything,
and
I think that would just
honestly,
help,
if that was my mother, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Two things. He would have still. I gotta make sure myself. He would have still killed the Tuskens.
He would have still killed the Sand People.
Still killed the Sand People, and
For having her
based
for the
on the other one,
And
with
I
Qui-Gon
slaughtered
still
them
alive,
like
let's be
animals.
honest, Qui-Gon and Anakin's mom would have hooked up if Qui-Gon was still alive, because that's like, hey, how you doing, baby? No one would have had a rescuer from
Mason, bro.
whatever his name is. Hey, how you doing? What's his
Waddle?
Waddle? Because
Waddle,
he
yeah,
would have
yeah.
went back and got her, because he definitely was interested in her.
All right. So moving on to the next question.
Anakin would have had a little brother.
So what if speaking of brothers, what if Uncle Owen was a friend of Anakin and Padme instead of being just the random brother of the guy that bought Shmi?
I think this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's just the videos you sent us. It's
Yeah,
just
well, I
like,
think that's genius.
Yeah.
Essentially the theory is that Uncle Owen should have been a pilot who was in awe of Anakin and, ended up on a mission with him or something, and then they became like a Han and Luke duo. And they became best friends, and then, in Episode 3, when she has the babies, he ends up taking Luke.
So my question is like, why couldn't he still be his brother? Why couldn't Owen join Anakin after he meets him on Tatooine in Episode 2, and then he's a critical point in the Clone Wars with Anakin and Obi-Wan and Padme. He flies the Twilight for Anakin.
Well, I guess the thing I think is that like I do have to agree with the belated media video in some aspect of like it is kind of weird that this random guy shows up on this planet to save his mother, and it just happens to be the woman that your father bought as a slave and is now your mom, and then goes and rescues her and he murders a bunch of Sand People, and then like 5 years later Obi-Wan shows up with a baby and goes, here you go. Like, isn't that a little weird? I'd be put off by that.
But you could cut out the Obi-Wan part by saying Owen joins the Clone Wars with Anakin. Like,
why would he do that?
Just a member of the military, whatever. There's a lot of reasons he might end up there.
That takes away from the clones, though.
Well,
it does take away from the clones, yeah.
And also, like he's from Tatooine. That's not the Republic. It
is the Outer Rim.
It's literally lawlessness. Like he lives in like a farm in Tatooine. Like it's literally as far away from like the war as like I think anywhere. Like I don't know if the Clone Wars ever goes to Tatooine really. Besides like in the movie for a little bit when they're at like Jabba.
They go to Jabba's palace a lot.
That's like but there's not like war.
And when they get that
even like combat.
fucking baby thing, the Jabba's baby,
Rhoda.
Stinky.
Jabba the Hutt's baby.
Road to the Hut.
He's somewhere in there.
Owen wouldn't be old enough. How old is he?
In Episode 2, I think he's
Episode 2,
20
he's
something.
got to be 20.
But
he's older than
but
Anakin.
But it's
No, he's
not
not.
his real brother though.
Technically,
It's
they're
his
still
half-brother.
brothers.
Okay, well, I'm just saying.
they're
So
not-
he doesn't have the same mother. He has.
They're
We
just
don't know who
step
his
siblings,
mother
yeah.
is.
No, they're the same father.
Right.
Right. So they're half brothers.
No.
No,
No, he
because
doesn't-
that's not his
he's
father
not related
either.
to him
They're
at
not
all.
blood
That's
related
right.
at
He's
all.
not
Yeah.
related.
He's
They don't
not.
have
He's
any- they don't
not.
have any
So
stuff
if
in them
if
at all.
he's
So they're
got
like
a
stepbrothers.
Yeah.
so they're
It's
stepbrothers.
worse,
So
yeah.
fine, stepbrother. But then he's a stepbrother anyway, so
Yeah.
it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
And otherwise, he'd be too young because, like, there's no way. I always forget Anakin's mom's name. Shmi, whatever. Can't like laziest, terrible name. Like, there's no way she can be the mother. Or he'd be like 5 or 10 or 15, like too young to join the rebellion.
He'd be
That's
10.
right.
Too young to join the rebellion.
Is it better than?
And why
Sheev
doesn't he have
Palpatine?
force? Why isn't he force? Why isn't he got a high Midichlorian count?
Well, that's
It
you
causes
know,
all kinds of problems.
So if they were, that's why I'm saying, what if they were friends? Interesting. So let's move to episode 3. This is where all
Listen,
of
Vader doesn't
Well,
like
smart.
sand.
Darth,
You
that's,
hide
that's
it
what
with
Darth Vader
sand.
would have
Yes.
hunted down
Like,
and
it's
killed
as
him.
simple
then,
as that, guys. It's as
too. He was-
simple.
so.
Oh yeah. Ranto makes a good point. If Anakin and Owen knew each other during the Clone Wars and during the Republic era more than they do now, Anakin would have hunted Owen down. when
Well,
he was
which
Vader.
the
makes it a lot
unfamiliarity-
more intense.
No,
Because
but the
then Luke
unfamiliarity
wouldn't be
is the only reason
protected.
it makes sense that Luke's like hidden for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Because
But
like,
the hypotheticals here is now that that changes the story. So what if they were friends? The
I
whole
don't
series
want-
would not have happened.
I don't want Luke like hunted though. I like the idea that they don't even have any idea that like Luke is just like there and then just pops into.
I was even kind of
like,
iffy like when Reva showed up on Tatooine.
Yeah,
I
I
was
like.
I was
and
like,
I
I don't
think
think
they
that this
handled
should
it-
be
and
in
I don't
here.
even know if like they handled that.
Yeah,
like, the
that was
best,
weird.
Like,
They shouldn't have done that when Reva gets to Tatooine.
yeah, she makes
and
up.
she's like,
She
"I'm
makes
gonna
up
fight
far
Luke."
too much of a stick for my liking for like the canon to make sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then Luke just forgets that happened.
He got knocked out and he never sees Reva.
Yeah, he doesn't see her.
And also wait a second, because he's like, and Uncle Owen's like, the Sand People are coming, and then she literally storms their house and opens the door.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck the
and
end of that-
Luke
like, that episode
sees
is.
her. Young Luke sees
He was
Reva with a
traumatized.
lightsaber, and Aunt Beru's like, Luke, get the fuck out of here.
No,
and
he-
so he climbs up the staircase and then somehow magically forgets that she ever
I
existed.
don't understand why
He
she
was
just didn't
traumatized,
die
so he
in the
just- he
hangar
blocked
bay.
it out.
Like, why didn't she just die
She
after
could've
Vader?
very
Reva
easily just
survived
died
like
there and-
multiple stabs to like the stomach that have killed like every other person that's ever been stabbed in the same way in canon.
Dude,
so
did you see how Qui-Gon goes out in episode 3? Come on, bro.
you can't when he gets like shot to death like
So,
6-7 times.
Speaking of Qui-Gon's death in episode 3, this leads to my next question. What if Order 66 was not a thing? How would you eradicate the Jedi?
I just disagree with his video series where he's like, no, I don't like Order 66.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Why not? They're a paramilitary organization outside of the government's direct control. Of course they're going to have contingencies in case they go rogue, right? Like,
And he's like 100. And there's like 100 of them, and they're like you can find them. And one of the contingencies is literally Order 65, which is take out the Chancellor
Yeah.
instead. So like he had all his bases covered. It's like, well, there's one for me too. Like it's like
I don't think that the guy in the video knew about the other orders.
Well,
Just like,
these happened before Clone Wars.
No,
So
this is long.
so
in
these were
existence.
before Clone Wars happened. The
Yeah,
orders
This is
the
extended.
orders were established prior to Clone Wars, and then they were retconned by the chip.
Yeah, the chip. Yeah, they retconned it because they wanted to give clones actual personalities.
Yeah,
and there's a
sure.
reason why they would switch. Which, to be fair, there is some things that are weakened by having the clones do it because there's a chip in their mind, and there's other things that are better. Like there are trade-offs.
Yeah.
Because you lose some of the stories, like from even like the Battlefront 2 type, which is I don't
The
even know if that was
journals.
ever canon. But like for instance, like Commander Bakara, like who's like the Mundi's like commander, like they were just fucking itching to murder him because he had one of the highest casualty rates like in the war. So they were just waiting for the day they got to blow his brains out. But then you got like Bly, who was like Ayla Secura's like commander, and they genuinely liked Ayla Secura and thought she was like an actual good leader who protected her men, and they were like actually they made sure to kill her quickly.
Yeah.
Like so there are nuances that you don't get with like the
chip.
chip thing. But it does take. But otherwise, the clones wouldn't have been cool like throughout the entire run if it was like that. There's
Yeah.
more there's more to it now. So
It stopped being an actual Republic like contingency plan and was an order that Palpatine
like a
instilled in
secret,
them.
like it was like a secret, like
nobody
fail-safe.
knew about it. Even the Jedi
Yeah,
and
so
like
the context has changed.
Yeah.
From Clone Wars, weird.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so from that video,
I-
you know, it is a little bit different. Originally, it was originally everybody knew about Order 66, and it was just a
Yeah, the
thing
clones were waiting
that was
for it.
there. They were just kind of waiting for it. But now it's a, you know, chip thing.
Yeah.
Although in the video series he says like, well, actually all the Jedi should die in this one big battle, and it was just like, what? Like this a galaxy spanning conflict gets distilled, like 10,000 Jedi all die at the same time on this one planet.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of Jedi
Is
die.
it 100? I thought it was
Yeah.
like
I think there's
10,000.
only 50. No, I think Kanan says that when the Jedi die, there's 15. No, there's 10,000.
Let's see.
I think it's 10 to 15,000.
He said like 10,000.
Yeah. They don't have 100,000. I know that, but
Yeah.
And there's no military in the history of mankind that would have had all the Jedi together at the same place at the same time.
no,
that would never happen.
Literally, that's part of Palpatine's plan is to make the war wide as hell, so the Jedi are in multiple places. So
Well,
you can
and
pick
I
them
think
off
that-
They
one
have
by
to be
one,
spread out.
with an entire armies of clones to just take out one Jedi at the head. Like
Well, and I
that's
think
why they're
that's-
so. Like,
I think that's the point in the argument in the video is that not that, you know, we should be eradicating the Jedi, but to vastly dwindle their numbers, like severely just hurt them in a way that like they're not able to come.
Well,
up
even
with.
I don't think Order 66. Like I don't know if like Palpatine ever thought that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get them all here. Like I just thought like, oh, I'll get most of them, and then at that point we'll hunt them down afterwards. Like if he had other plans
and I
to
think
deal with
well,
them.
also I think that like there's a good point to be made, which is that, you know, one of the questions is take Episode 4 for example. Order 66, Jedi are illegal. We've seen this in Obi-Wan, where Obi-Wan's like, bury your lightsaber in the ground and never show it to anybody ever and just pretend you don't exist. And then in Episode 4, he goes into a bar and just immediately cuts somebody's hand off with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
He does
And
get found out really quickly though.
Yeah.
Like this is just some backwater planet, and there's immediately stormtroopers investigating it.
Yeah, that's
About
true. Like in Tatooine, I mean, in Tatooine, in New Hope, Tatooine doesn't really have like a set Imperial like people that are there. The Imperials are only there because they're looking for the people on Tatooine's.
They're
not
looking for the
important.
droids.
Tatooine's
That's
very
right.
unimportant
They're
to
exactly
the
they're
Empire.
looking for the droids, and then when Obi-Wan whips out his lightsaber, the Jedi were supposed to be like extinct. How come everybody in the bar didn't go, holy shit, he's a Jedi?
Right.
Somebody call the cops.
I think the idea is just supposed to be it's Mos Eisley, and it's like a scum and villainy type thing. Like it's literally
So
a law.
just nobody
Like,
cares.
Yeah,
Mos
just mind
Eisley
your
is not
business.
most unlike in well actually to be fair, wait, is Boba Fett in charge of Mos Eisley or Mos Espa?
Espa.
Okay, Mos Espa is actually civilized. Mos Eisley is not. Mos Eisley is like Tortuga in
Never
like
find
parts
a
of the
more
Caribbean.
wretched scum in
Like,
the
like, so I think that's supposed to be the idea that like half these people are here are fucking criminals anyway. So what are they gonna do? Like, I guess they could like try to hunt a Jedi, like bounty hunter. But I think enough bounty hunters.
Or
are
he's
like,
just
maybe
a guy
I
with a
shouldn't
lightsaber.
Do that.
Yeah.
Like,
It could just be a guy with a lightsaber. It wasn't like he battled. He just cut the guy's arm off.
yeah, there are
It
the
wasn't
occasional
like-
people
That's
in
true,
Star Wars
that's
that
true,
do
that's
have a
true.
lightsaber.
The
Just be a guy.
Inquisitorius
So
is
maybe
gone
he
at
just
this
maybe
point.
he just the Inquisitorius is gone. Maybe he just
Yeah, by New
stole
Hope, yeah,
one
you're
and
right.
just lopped somebody's arm off.
Also, even like within the movie itself, he mentions that the Jedi are hunted. Like in A New Hope, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The Jedi were hunted down and
Yeah.
eliminated.
Yeah, so like he just did that. Like that's just kind of like I guess it's just kind of a plot hole of New Hope. He just kind of does that, even though he states that.
Exactly.
That's
Well,
a
that's
danger
what I'm
next
I
saying.
think they're trying to
Like,
get out of
why
there
would he
anyway. So isn't that like I think he's just like fuck, we need to get. He's like
We're leaving anyhow. I'm
yeah,
good.
Yeah, just like
I think one of my biggest pet peeves of that video is that even
And
though
if you want to watch this video,
We'll
and you
link
want
it.
context, the links to them are below.
even if Mace Windu isn't like the most liked Jedi, I don't think he should have just been killed by like a random battle droid. I think that he should have gone out a little more badass.
No, and I can agree with you, and I think that like, well, we'll get to the next couple questions, and then we'll talk about those in particular because I have some serious opinions about some things that he did mention about like Anakin's downfall and things like that that I really think are like very crucial character moments. What if the Jedi had caught Palpatine? Like, and actually, like, what if Mace Windu had actually arrested him and he had stood trial? What would happen?
I think that this is an actual like before Disney bought. This was an actual what if comic. I don't remember how it went though, but I have very vague
But like,
memories
Rick,
of it.
what would happen had they done that? Do you think he would have gotten out of it? Do you think Anakin would have tried to bail him out? What would have happened?
I think he would have just been acquitted. Like the Jedi just stormed into his his office and
So they figuring
arrested
out
him.
at the same time.
But they have evidence.
Well,
No, so you're saying that they succeed and he just gets put in handcuffs. Instead
Yeah,
of,
so
fighting
they
back.
he fights
Yeah,
with
the Jedi's
Mace
PR,
Windu.
The Jedi's PR was already too in the toilet at this point. They would have just taken it as a coup, and then something would have.
Well, that's what they did.
Like, I
he
think-
said, like, the Jedi, look what the Jedi did to me.
Yeah,
so
like
they would have.
it would have been the same way. Because I think by that point, the only liked Jedi by design is Anakin because he's like a PR. Like the game, like Palpatine specifically uses Anakin as like the PR guy. Like he's
Okay,
like
well,
the
what
hero
if
of the
Anakin?
Republic,
What if Anakin never surrendered and agreed with them and had arrested? Because in halfway through Episode 3, he pulls out his lightsaber and he goes, "You are the Sith Lord, and you need to stand trial." And then he like manipulates him. What if he wasn't able to do that? So what if Anakin had arrested him and brought him in, and now he lost his PR?
I guess Anakin. Okay, that's a more interesting idea. It's like if
What if
Anakin had a
Anakin
little bit
betrayed?
more. I just figured like I don't. Here's the thing. I think the people always because they don't show Anakin interact with like I guess in the movies at least in Clone Wars they do. And I think Clone Wars honestly fills in almost every like.
It
I
fills
think
in every plot
That's
hole.
the thing. Like almost every plot hole that's like with Anakin is literally fixed completely by Clone Wars either by Ahsoka or just having like more like interactions with Obi-Wan and having a real relationship that you actually get to see with Palpatine. Like and Palpatine occasionally just pushing him. So like, I think Palpatine already has enough goodwill with Anakin that like even if he like arrested him at first, he would probably just like he would have went to visit him like in like visitation and like they go to and also like
jail buddies.
Also, there are also people within the Republic that already know that Palpatine like what's his name Azamita already knows like if the entire time that like he's a Sith Lord. And like so, I imagine they have other contingencies in place, like in case that ever happened.
Rick, what do you think?
Is it even a crime to be a Sith? Like,
Yeah,
is that a
that's what I'm
crime
saying,
on the
like, it
books?
is.
Like that was always my thing too. Like the Jedi, like he's a Sith. I'm like, do most of the senators care anymore? Like, because the Jedi, like, because in the canon, like the Jedi were forgotten like in 19 years. Like from episode 3 to 4, which is one of the dumbest things in canon, that they became myth in 14 years.
Same thing with Luke Skywalker in Episode 7.
And the Sith have been gone
Excuse me?
for 1,000 by the point time of this point, like literally 1,000 years. And like so like the Jedi were like, "You're a Sith. We're arresting you for Sithdom." Like is anyone gonna know what that is? Like given like
We're arresting you for your religion that you believe in.
yeah, it's like this religious persecution. Like it's like
Nobody's seen a Sith for what was it, 100 years, 200, hundreds of years?
it's
What-
like I think it's
Thousands of
1,000.
years.
Literally,
Like-
they've been in hiding for 1,000 years. Like I'm sure the Jedi have done little bits of like combat with like the like over time. Most of the Jedi dying, so they're not exposed. But like Yaddle dying is a good example
Yeah.
of that. Like
I think that's a really good question. And did you have a question of the day planned out?
No.
So I think that's a good
Question of the day. Question of the day for today: is it a crime to be a Sith Lord?
in Star Wars, is that
In
against
Star
the law?
Wars, is
In Star Wars, is it a crime to be a Sith Lord?
Is it a crime in real life to be a Sith Lord?
Whoa, wait a second. Anyway, moving on. So, obviously we know that Anakin is tasked by the Council to spy specifically on the Chancellor by himself. What if Anakin and Obi-Wan had been tasked to do that together?
I think Anakin's unique relationship with Palpatine is kind of why he was tasked to do that by himself. I don't know if
Yeah, I don't think there's like a backup. Like,
Yeah.
for that plan. Like it's just Anakin or nothing. Like
It's just Anakin and Obi-Wan like on a balcony standing across
They got
them. Like,
binoculars.
all right. What do you see him doing? What's he doing?
Like that's
the way,
Obi-Wan's
the way that
idea.
they did in Episode 2 when he's like, I can sense everything that's going on in that room.
So can I.
So can I. Yes, I felt it too. And then they go in and they chop the fucking worm things up.
Worm things.
Write that
Okay,
down,
well,
write that down.
all right, we'll skip that question. Okay, I guess a good one. What if Obi-Wan had turned to the dark side?
Oh, the universe would have been screwed.
They would have been fucked. Obi-Wan's way more powerful than Anakin. Like, let's be real.
He's a better fighter. I don't think he has the same force ability as Anakin.
They were pretty equally
Or
matched.
equal,
They were
but
pretty equal,
his
and then Obi-Wan
potential.
kicked his ass. So, like...
Oh yeah, that's right. The new stuff.
Oh yeah,
I forgot
like,
about the new
well,
stuff.
Yeah, and then he gets his legs cut off, and then he. So I'm talking at the end of Episode 3. Like, what if Obi-Wan had been manipulated by Palpatine and became the bad guy? Do you think
Oh,
Anakin could have beat him in the fight? Or
Oh, I was thinking more like that Anakin turned him on Mustafar. But that's an interesting.
Well,
question.
let's go both ways. Okay, let's talk Anakin. So Anakin convinces Obi-Wan to join him on Mustafar. How, like, the universe would definitely be fucked. I mean, the two of them together would have been screwed.
I don't think there's any timeline where like Obi-Wan could turn.
Yeah.
I think he's too
Again,
like,
Christian,
he's
hypothetical.
He's no, but he's
What
literally
if that
no,
happened?
but literally,
The episode's titled "What If."
That improves, but that like involves like literally like what if? I feel like it has to be like within like the potential for the character to do it.
It
And
does,
I don't
but
think,
there
like,
does.
No, but I don't think there's any potential for Palpatine. Like Palpatine has no potential to turn.
I don't think
Obi-Wan.
Palpatine does, but Anakin definitely
No,
does.
I don't think Anakin does either. I don't think Anakin does either. I think like
Christian
I think
doesn't like
Dooku.
thinking
I think
in
No, he
Dooku.
doesn't.
I think Dooku
Possibilities.
could.
I don't know
think
about that.
Dooku, like if
Dooku
he could have like leaned into his the Qui-Gon thing more, like around the time when like Dooku starts to struggle, like if he does it too, like when like a younger. Like, imagine if that's the idea, like, that Palpatine manipulates Dooku, and Dooku manipulates Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan manipulates, like, it's a fucking, like Anakin, like, it's a chain.
I think,
like, it's...
I think everything that happens to Obi-Wan, like his master dies, the love of his life dies, he loses all the Jedi, he loses his whole life. I think that Anakin probably, if Obi-Wan wasn't as perfect as he was in the actual canon, I think there's a very good chance that he could have turned to the dark side.
Okay, so then, all right, let's put it this way. Anakin convinces, this is hardcore, like confirmed, Anakin convinces Obi-Wan to become a Sith Lord with him. What happens?
Obi-Wan kills Anakin because there can only be two.
Ooh.
There can only be one.
Two.
Two.
Two
Rule
Sith.
of two.
Oh, two Sith.
Yeah, if there's only one, there's no more Sith.
Well, they kill Palpatine.
That could also
I
happen.
don't
The
know
two
if
of them
they-
take over and kill
No,
Palpatine.
they can. Anakin, without being Vader, with Obi-Wan backing him up, can kill Palpatine.
Yeah, I think.
I
so.
think
can agree
Anakin.
with
There's
that.
an argument by himself that Anakin.
I mean,
there's
Rey Skywalker kills Palpatine.
there's an argument
so...
like there's an argument that pre-Vader Anakin can basically body anyone besides Obi-Wan, given the very specific circumstance that Obi-Wan beat him in. I don't think there's very much anyone like. I don't think. Yeah, maybe some of the older Legends guys you could argue, but like that's getting into the weeds.
Well,
So
they would definitely have to. I feel like Anakin would still have to wait for a bit to increase his powers before he was able to actually take on Palpatine.
But also, this is also pending
like, he'll
that like
be rusty
Anakin
with
turns him so he doesn't become like half robot.
Yeah.
He stays at like his full power.
Yeah.
You know, Padme doesn't die, and you know,
I think the more
Padme doesn't
interesting
die of
idea-
sadness because he's alive, and then she like just is like pissed off, but she doesn't die of sadness.
Obi-Wan's
you know?
like, we're good.
She gets the kids in the divorce.
I thought there was a what if that I found, which was like what if
Anakin
like
can
Obi-Wan
only see them on Happy Life Day.
like left the
That's the only
Jedi
time he gets
Order
to see 'em.
for Satine.
that's
That
a
was
good one.
that was one that I
I
found.
like that. I
found
like
The
that.
universe would have been
interesting.
screwed.
Because that
should've
one's
done
no,
it,
no, no.
though.
That one's more interesting because that means he's like away from any clones or whatever. Like when Order 66 happens, but Obi-Wan is like automatically becomes the #1 like threat to the Empire because
he's
keep in
not
mind
involved anymore.
because he's literally think about it. He's like I forget what the word is. He's literally like whatever the male ruler is of Mandalore in that case.
Mandalore.
Yes,
Mandalore?
Satine would
Duke.
still be
The Duke.
the.
He would be the
Satine
Duke of
would-
Mandalore.
He'd be the Duke of Mandalore, basically. So he's basically like a Jedi at the helm of like whatever Mando
But you have
type
to-
thing
you
they
have to-
could raise
you
if
have to
they
ta-
have to.
You have to take into effect.
They are peaceful, I guess.
You
at
have to
that
take
point.
into effect that Obi-Wan would have left the Jedi Order when he was still a Padawan, so he wouldn't have been
Well,
as
I think
powerful.
the idea would be like in the Clone Wars if you could have wrote something because again she doesn't exist till Clone Wars anyway.
Oh,
So-
and that's the thing is like so he
I do
comes
love the
back and
background
like,
of him protecting Satine like when he was like Qui-Gon's Padawan and then falling in love then. I think that's particularly good.
yeah, and
like,
so they
writing.
go back in the Clone Wars, and when he sees her again, there's like a light that sparks, and they fall in love again, and then
Yeah, I
he
think that's
leaves
the
for
idea.
her.
Like he
Okay.
says that
During the
line, like
Clone
if you
Wars.
said the word, like I would
would've
have left,
left
like yeah. Maybe I think there's an argument to be that he wouldn't have left mid-war, but like if you could have manufactured like a scenario where like
He was
Yeah,
like,
well, so we
I'm
just-
done
we
with
just
this
change
war. I'm out.
But again, hypotheticals. We
it
just
would
changed
been
it.
cool though to have like
you know?
Obi-Wan and the Mandalorians like versus like the Empire.
I mean,
That
everyone.
would be sick.
Everyone
Let's be
lo-
real. That they would destroy the Empire. Like, let's be
Everyone
real.
loves Obi-Wan in the Mandalorian armor.
Yeah, it
Like,
is good. I have a Puff Funko Pop.
Oh, yes. Okay. So
We're at an hour, so we gotta.
Okay.
we're at an hour. All right, we'll wrap it up. Then I've got 2 more questions. What if Obi-Wan had revealed to Anakin that he knew about his marriage?
There's a
What doesn't know about the marriage?
He knew. And
Yeah,
they all
he
knew.
knew.
We all no wait.
another
We all know
married,
that he knew.
per se.
But Obi-Wan like never overtly says like I imagine Obi-Wan like reaching out and being like, Anakin, don't listen to him. I know you're married. I know this sucks. Let me help you. Let's try to figure it out. Versus just being like, Palpatine's like, hey, I could save your wife, and nobody else helps him out. So he's like, all right, I guess I'll go with this guy. Like, imagine Obi-Wan and Palpatine competing for like, let me help you. Let me help you. Like, how do you think that would have went? Do you think that Anakin would have chosen to go with Obi-Wan if Obi-Wan reached out to help him?
Absolutely.
Or do you think he would have chosen Palpatine, who said, I can save her life regardless?
So there's a deleted dialogue between Padme and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's more like.
So
yeah.
I'll read it out. It says this is Obi-Wan talking. It says, I'm not blind, Padme. Though I've tried to be for Anakin's sake and yours. Anakin has loved you since the day you met in that horrible junk shop on Tatooine. He's never even tried to hide it. Though we do not speak of it, we pretend that I don't know, and I was happy to because it made him happy. You made him happy when nothing else ever truly could.
Which actually is like better dialogue than most of the dialogue that George Lucas.
That's one of my favorite.
So,
that's one of my favorite pieces of dialogue.
And why
It's a
did
little,
we
it's
cut
a little
that?
heavy.
Because
but
executives at Lucasfilm are dumb. That's why.
I mean, Anakin reaches out. He basically tells Yoda, yo, can you help me with this? And Yoda's like, nah, bro. You
Even
just
like the Grand
just
Well, that's
kill
why
him.
I'm saying ignoring Yoda. Talk about Obi-Wan.
I
'cause
think that
feel like
Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan
would have helped.
totally could have helped him.
I don't know, but Obi-Wan, like, what can he do though? Like, what is
I
Obi-Wan
think
like?
Obi-Wan would have been able to find a way. Like Anakin is so.
Is he only freaking out because of the visions?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's
well,
the,
he's
that's
freaking
the,
out because of the visions,
like,
and
the
then
trigger.
and then like Palpatine is like, I can save her life, and that's all you need. Whereas like Obi-Wan, I genuinely feel would have been able to reach out and sort of say to him like, look, bro, life happens, but no matter what,
Wear a rubber next time.
we'll make it work.
But also like,
And he
Obi-Wan's
also was
not
like,
the-
I feel like Obi-Wan would have helped him in a way that didn't involve, like, I feel like Obi-Wan is a good enough father figure, and I know they call each other brothers, but he's more of a father figure to him, too,
Yeah.
in a sense that, like, I feel like Obi-Wan's a personal enough character with Anakin that, like, he would have put in the work to try to, like, work with him to try to find a way to save her. Because,
I
like,
don't-
Palpatine doesn't go out of his way to try to save Padme. He just tells him that, but he doesn't know how to do it. I feel like Obi-Wan would have at least tried.
See, interestingly enough, I think that alright, when he gets told to spy on Palps, has he already had visions?
Yes.
Okay. So I think at that point, like when the point, like, do we want him to reach out immediately, or at the same time that he reaches out to like Palpatine?
Let's
is the
say
idea?
that
at the same time that he goes to talk to Palpatine about it, instead he talks to Obi. Is that what we're saying?
Let's
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
I was gonna say instead of going to Yoda, he goes to
That
Obi-Wan
hasn't
and
Obi-Wan-
spills clean.
hasn't
Because he
Obi-Wan
goes to
already
Yoda first.
Yeah.
Hasn't Obi-Wan already betrayed him in a sense by asking him to spy on Palpatine?
Yeah, but I don't think that's enough.
I think that's
because
a
him and-
damage. That
because-
damages the relationship.
Well, no,
a
but he
slight
does.
amount.
But he does
Like,
say to him because Yoda also asks him to do that, and he still goes to Yoda. So I feel like and also like Anakin and Obi-Wan, the very last time they see each other, he says, "I'll see you soon, old friend," and they leave like best friends.
See, I've
so
always
I wonder
viewed-
if they would have gone to Obi-Wan instead.
But
The outcome would totally be different.
does Anakin go to Yoda before or after he gets the assignment? I thought it was always before he gets the assignment.
I think it's after.
See, my thing is this: like, Obi-Wan doesn't like, yes, he was Qui-Gon's like apprentice, but he mostly is pretty chill and like agreeable to the Jedi code. Like, it's just what he is. Like, if anything, he's like the perfect representation of what a Jedi is supposed to be while following like the code, except for like occasionally he's a bit more empathetic.
I
and
think they
compassionate.
retconned a lot of
I
that
don't-
in the Clone Wars.
I don't think
though.
that he would have like. I don't think if Anakin like came to him and said, "I'm married to Padme and we're having children and I'm having these visions where she dies in childbirth," I don't think Obi-Wan would have immediately turned around and been like, "Yo, Yoda, Anakin needs
No, I'm
to
not
get
saying
kicked
that,
out."
but I'm just saying I don't know if like Obi-Wan like, Because again, Obi-Wan's is more of a brother, less like friend to Anakin, where he doesn't have nearly as much authority over him that at least that works because Anakin doesn't listen to him most of the time. Whereas Anakin would have listened to Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon would have been more of a father figure to look up to, whereas they became more brothers, which is all I think it was the wrong relationship to in the long run to prevent that from happening. Whereas I've never viewed as Obi-Wan as having a chance to save Anakin, weirdly enough.
Because but that's the thing. They never gave him a chance.
But I think it's his characterization though is supposed to be he's a representation, literally within the story of the Jedi. Even though he's not a Windu, don't get me wrong. Windu's the bad kind of warpedness of the Jedi to the politicization, the dogma of it. Whereas obviously Obi-Wan's not that bad. Whereas I've always thought that we have two scenes now that kind of prove it. We have basically identical scenes at Obi-Wan and Twilight of the Apprentice where the mask is broken, and we get the idea is Anakin leaks out for a minute or two, and I'll tell you what, Ahsoka gets a lot more of Anakin than Obi-Wan ever does in that sequence. But Ahsoka's actually in that sequence. I don't know if Obi-Wan gets to Anakin at all. In Obi-Wan, in the finale of Obi-Wan, I think we just see him, but I don't know if there's very much I don't think he even gets to talk to Anakin. Ahsoka talks to Anakin for a second,
but you have to take into account that is after Anakin's fully corrupted. I think that they had enough of a connection and enough of a friendship and a bond that if before Anakin was fully corrupted by Palpatine, that Obi-Wan would have helped him and would have done something at least to try and help.
At least had done enough to say, let me at least try to genuinely help you. Because, if you're sitting there, if I'm Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, my best friend, my father figure of my entire life, comes up to me and says, I know you're married, I know you're having kids, I know you're having visions of that she's going to die, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to save her, but I genuinely, in my hardest of hearts, will do everything I can to help you.
And Obi-Wan cared about Padme,
and
too.
Palpatine's just hey, you heard about the dark side? They're pretty fucking cool, and I think I know how to tell you. And Anakin's just and I think the reason Anakin confides in Palpatine is because they didn't write Obi-Wan in a way that he felt like he could go to him.
But I think that's but when they want to take care of the Emperor, he's no, because he's the only one. I don't think he's going to believe that maybe Obi-Wan can help him when the Emperor's already told him, and he's got a good relationship with the Emperor too, because the Emperor has always looked out for him in his mind. So I just don't think maybe Obi-Wan's going to help me. This guy says he can help me. I'm going with the sure thing. I'm not going with maybe if he reads a book. Maybe he Googles how to, save my wife.
Understand, Anakin is literally.
I just don't think. I don't think he falls
depressed. Is literally a depressed character, most of the time. And the only thing that yes, he's friendly and has a good relationship with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, but the only thing he lives for is it's a cringe, but it's Padme. That's the thing in that dialogue you put out. The only thing that truly actually Anakin really cares about. Yes, he cares about the everyman because he's when he's fighting the war. He very much cares for his men and civilians and shit like that.
He doesn't he wouldn't give his entire existence up for them. He gives his entire existence.
Exactly. I think that's the idea. And that's also what the Sith is, that you can fall to evil and being bad just by with the best of intentions. That's the kind of the crux of it.
Rick, do you want to give your, because I don't think you've talked about this.
You do this, and then I got one more question.
All right, so I think Padme and Obi-Wan together could have probably made a difference there.
What if Obi-Wan had gone to Padme and said hey, look, we need to talk to him, and then they did it together? If Padme would have been yo, babe, this is not working. We need to talk about this. I feel Anakin would have been shit, I'm sorry, you're right. I probably should have thought about my actions before I did them.
I think Anakin would have needed at least
Anakin's a simp. I think let's be real.
I think from current characterization, you would probably need like Padme, which is like, but I don't even know how Padme would like get ahead of any of this. Like, if I'm being honest, like given like what we see, like Obi-Wan and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I think you would literally need all three, and like you know how much like rewriting you have to do to get all these characters into the place. Well, first
Again,
off,
hypotheticals?
Yeah, it's all hypothetical.
Obi-Wan, first off,
We're
Obi-Wan
trying
is
to
sent
get an
away-
intervention in the
First
middle
off,
of
Obi-Wan
episode
is sent away
3.
on purpose. Like Obi-Wan was purposely, like, I think, like sent away. Like, I don't know. The Chancellor has some thing to do with Obi-Wan being sent, right? Or is it just
No.
the Council?
I think that Palpatine kind of manipulates the council because he's like, Anakin should go.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then they're like, no,
Anakin
Anakin
I think
shouldn't
that's
go.
what I mean. I think like they want like it was like a trick. It's like, oh, send Obi-Wan instead. Like, which also I think is like supposed to be like, I think we're kind. The way we're talking about Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship is a little bit more positive than it actually is. Like, Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship is not perfect in any stretch of the imagination.
but it's
if
better-
anything, Obi-Wan's much of Obi-Wan's arc, and it's why it's cool. He's a cool character. Is that he's a failed master?
Well, yeah.
Like, it's very like, and that much of like, and Anakin resents a lot of his training with him, and like that's literally the first interaction.
Well,
like, they don't get along swimmingly in their first interaction like between like Hayden Christensen like as the character and Obi-Wan.
No.
Like, it's literally like most of Attack of the Clones is animosity between like, or like in bickering between the two, and there's an idea
Yeah,
that
Anakin's
a
basically
more
just a dick to him
yeah,
for, like,
a
the
more
whole movie.
mature Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars develop an actual more deeper friendship. But
Yeah.
there's an argument that like they don't have the best relations. Like they could trust each other, I think, to a level, but
If you go strictly on the original movies, they don't have a great relationship. But after you watch the Clone Wars, there is so much more relationship there. To the fact where, like, even though it's a heartbreaking moment at the end of Episode 3 where Obi-Wan's like spilling his heart out to Anakin after he had to just chop his leg off and leave him on the lava, it strikes so much more painfully after you've watched their relationship in Clone Wars.
yeah, 100%.
All right, last question. What if Anakin killed Obi-Wan on Mustafar?
Now we played the clip of the alternate ending scene from the
The Star Wars.
The Star Wars
video
Revenge
game.
of the Sith PS2 game.
Yes.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
You underestimate the power of the dark side.
Don't try it! Excellent work, my apprentice. There are none left to oppose us. The galaxy is ours now. Your new weapon, Lord Vader.
No! The galaxy belongs to me!
Actually, what I think happens here is the plan changes dramatically, because then you only have like Yoda's like the only like main survivor on like the Tantive that kind of gets there. So, which means like I guess Yoda sends the message out to the other Jedi instead, so we get the Yoda hologram message
Well,
instead
Obi-Wan
of
does that before he goes to Mustafar.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do that before Mustafar. But the plan where they twiddle the kids is after, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so now that scene is just Yoda and Bail Organa. So Bail Organa then, okay, you know exactly this happens. Bail Organa takes both children instead.
How would
I don't think
get
they
him?
would get the children because
Yeah.
Padme's still on Mustafar.
Oh
Yeah,
crap.
Anakin would just come.
No,
and
R2,
scoop her up.
R2,
So-
no, wait. R2 would have got him out of there. I'm actually not even joking. Like,
R2 and C3PO
I'm actually like
probably would've
100%.
taken them.
R2 literally would have got
They
them.
somehow managed to get her on the ship
Yeah.
anyway.
No,
It's like,
R2
wait a
literally
second,
would have
how
like.
did they do
I'm not
that?
even joking. R2 would have flew the ship like out of there before, like he just left Anakin's ass there.
Yeah,
Like I'm
100%.
not even joking. Like I think R2 would literally found her and like would have dragged her on the ship like with 3PO. No, 3PO dragged her on
Yeah,
the ship
but so-
himself
but
actually.
say- but say,
like,
for
which I didn't even know
example-
3PO could fucking do that.
But R2 stuck with Anakin through everything, knowing what he did, and so Anakin comes back to the ship after
No, but
killing
I think with
Obi-Wan
the-
and is
in-
like, "All right, guys, let's get the
Given
fuck out
Tales
of
of
here."
the Jedi editions, though, what happens is both. I think they're more probably in this case because he has two kids. what's his name cannot stay in the Senate realistically this time, so
Bail.
he's more on the run. Actually, maybe not, or maybe like he has to run quicker if that makes sense. Like maybe he's gonna get found out quicker if that with like instead of having like 2 random kids that show up out of nowhere. Like that doesn't make as much sense.
What if Luke got sent off to be with Mon Mothma?
No, I think what happens is Luke, depending on how late into the last episode of Tales of the Jedi, when Ahsoka gets picked up by Bail Organa, Luke is taken by Ahsoka and eventually trained, and that is the plan.
That would be really cool.
so that Ahsoka will one day instead of Obi-Wan, it's Ahsoka. It's basically like that's how
So
it
we all
works.
think that we just see, but I still
Which
don't-
would have been
I
interesting.
Still, but
That
I
would've been
still
cool.
I still can't get behind the idea that R2 would just leave him there.
I
I
think
just
he
don't
would.
think
So-
that would happen.
So I'll
He
counter.
did.
I'll counter you. There's also a deleted piece of dialogue where when Anakin goes to see Padme for the last time before he goes to Mustafar, C-3PO talks to R2-D2 and 3PO asks R2 like, "What's going on?" Like, literally, why is
R2's like, what the
why
fuck,
is the
bro?
temple on fire? And R2 goes, "I don't know. Anakin doesn't talk to me anymore."
Yeah. So R2's like,
God damn it!
yeah, like.
They pulled that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like shit. Which is it's like which I think is a part of it, which is literally like I think Anakin's like, cause I don't think Anakin doesn't like not all of a sudden care for R2 when he's like Sith. I think it's just like he's ashamed to talk to him.
Yeah,
Like-
it's not like he doesn't care.
Just
Like I
doesn't
think that's
wanna
literally
look
it,
him
because
in
like
the
Anakin is
camera.
ashamed that he's had to do like Anakin like that's why he's crying on Mustafar like after he butchers all those damn people. Like, after
But he
butchers-
did it. He was
Like, 'cause he
fueled
didn't
with
want
the
to. Like, he
power
didn't-
of love and.
Yeah.
Loved
Oh,
him to
man.
death.
That's the power of
Does
love.
anybody have any other
Wanna pick 'em?
hypotheticals?
I don't know. Want to pick a few more of these things before we
How much
go?
time do we have? We got time for a couple more characters?
Sure.
Or? All right.
Everyone
But yeah, so those are our thoughts on What If. And before we do these last couple characters, question of the day was, what was the question of the day?
Something about being. Is it illegal?
Oh, is it illegal?
Is it illegal to be a Sith
illegal
Lord?
in Star Wars?
So,
Under
is
the
it illegal
Republic?
to be
Is
a
that what we're
Sith?
asking?
Or is it just a thing that people don't like?
Was it a Galactic
Or-
Republic law?
Or is it propaganda?
Only in
that
certain
the
states
Jedi-
in the United States.
Only in certain states. All right. Couple
Speed
more
run a
characters.
few of these.
Speed round. And what, like, no debate, just speed round.
Can't do that one.
Yeah, we don't get to that.
How do we pick him twice? What?
Ponda Baba and Dr. What's his name?
And Dr.
Nice.
Evazan.
Evazan.
I have the death sentence on 12. They're lovers. They're lovers. I kept them
Kathleen
together.
Kennedy's here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite like robot chicken sketches is when they're in the bar and he's like, "I have the death sentence on 12 systems," and then like a bounty hunter just comes up and is like,
So one guy says like,
"What are you doing?"
does he die?
Ponda
He
Baba?
does, yeah, or does he just get his arm
I
cut
think he
off?
just gets his arm chopped.
Why?
off.
Yeah,
There
he
you go,
bleeds.
right here.
And he,
His
why are they king? No, they're okay.
No, they're better. They're definitely better than like half of these characters.
put her
Yeah,
put
they're
him
like
next to Turgle.
Turgle.
Yeah, they can be like top of D. When they showed up in Rogue
Here,
One,
put
it
him
was
next
lame.
to Turgle.
It was lame when they showed up in Rogue One. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I liked it.
No, that was dumb. That was too much. Yeah, they can go above.
All right.
One more.
Who the hell is that?
Let me see.
Oh, there's two characters.
I think that was just because I printed on the back.
Who is
Oh.
it? Let me see.
So this
Looks
is
like a video
Captain
game.
Typho,
Oh, no.
The made
the
up
best
character because
character.
Captain Panaka didn't want to come back.
Captain Eye Patch.
I mean, Panaka didn't have much to do.
Yeah.
I think this might be like a D.
Yeah,
Like a low
well,
D.
I was gonna say put him next to like Bossk.
Where's Boss?
Under
C?
Ninja.
You
Yeah.
think he's a C?
I mean, he does stuff.
He's not better than Jar Jar.
I think Jar Jar's.
Yeah.
Like, is he?
Yeah.
What does he do?
He rescues Padme from getting blown up on the landing pad.
Doesn't I,
No,
no?
he
I
just
think
comes
she's just.
over.
I think Padme's
He just
not,
runs over
I'm
to
pretty
her.
sure
Wait a
Padme's just
second.
not near the explosion.
All right, one more time. One more.
Someone good.
Oh, TR-8R.
TR-8R.
Writer.
Or FN something. I forget.
Yeah, there's a real name. but everyone-
FN2199.
Traitor!
TR-85. All right, we'll wait on him. Let's get like a good character.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while.
I don't know who that is.
That's just,
Get pick a good one out of there.
Oh, Admiral Ackbar.
B tier.
it's a trap.
A.
B tier?
B tier.
A.
Yeah, I'm
What?
cool with B. I think he's one of the more iconic. actually,
A tier.
let's think.
No, B tier because his death was.
Oh
Wasted.
yeah, I'm fine with that because he's
he's
wasted in the
wasted.
sequel
But
trilogy.
he's definitely got to be top. He's better than Bale.
He goes.
He's good in Clone Wars,
He goes
though.
ahead of Rey.
He's fine in Clone Wars. He's obviously great in
tier?
6.
Oh yeah,
He goes ahead of Bale.
yeah, head of Bale.
Yeah, I think he's top of Bale.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
happy
cool
with
with that.
that.
He has a lot of extended
Since-
universe
since
stuff as well.
Legends is gone.
Yeah.
that's fine.
And that's how we're gonna end this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Let's pray for a speedy recovery for Jordan. Thanks, Rick, for joining us. I hope you had a good time. Rick's going to appear in a couple videos here with us soon. If you like Rick, let us know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I want to thank Maranto Media and Emerge Studios for letting us shoot our podcast here. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, BICBP Radio, and, all that jazz, Facebook,
TikTok and
YouTube,
whatnot.
TikTok, all the jazz. And we'll see all you guys next time. May the Force be with you. Goodbye.